Story 1, Light at the End of the Tunnel. Chapter 1, Routine life. In the heart of Moscow, in a cozy little apartment in one of the old districts of the city, lived Anna and Igor. It was a typical family, a strong marriage, 2 children, work, worries, school and an endless routine. Igor worked in a large construction company, and Anna was a housewife who also performed the duties of a manager in the family. Although their marriage seemed perfect from the outside, under this outer shell there were many difficult issues and unexpressed feelings. Igor often stayed late at work, and when he came home, he was tired and irritable. Anna, on the contrary, felt how monotonous her life had become, and she missed the old, emotional days when they had just started dating. Chapter 2, Worries and Doubts. One day, at a children's sports section, Anna met Maxim, a new swimming coach. He was young, energetic and full of life. They quickly found a common language, and their conversations grew into friendship. Every time she came to the children's training, she involuntarily looked for an opportunity to talk to him. Maxim complimented her appearance and made her feel desired. Anna felt a spark inside her that was missing in her relationship with Igor rekindling. With each passing day, her friendship with Maxim became closer and closer. She liked to indulge in dreams of a life full of feelings and emotions that she had long forgotten. Chapter 3, Forbidden Fruit. One day, after training, Maxim invited Anna to have a cup of coffee in a small cafe nearby. She hesitated, but then an inner voice told her, "Why not? It's just coffee." They sat, discussed life, laughed, shared their thoughts and feelings. With each passing moment, their connection became more and more intimate. Finally, one evening, when they met, the conversation turned to feelings. Maxim looked at her tenderly and quietly said, "I understand that you have a family, but I can't help but feel affection for you." Anna froze. She was scared, but at the same time a feeling of freedom and joy arose that had left her so long ago. She understood that it was wrong, but every moment spent with Maxim seemed like a holiday to her. Chapter 4, The First Temptation. Soon after, at the moment when they were alone due to the blazing emotions, Maxim leaned over and kissed Anna. She immediately succumbed to this feeling, and the kiss became the beginning of their secret connection. From that moment on, her life changed. She was overwhelmed by a new feeling, full of passion and energy, which contrasted with her daily routine with Igor. Anna realized that she could no longer spend a day without thinking about Maxim. She found excuses to meet him, such as helping to coach children or discussing issues related to swimming. Every moment spent with Maxim was pure happiness for her. But with each new day came a feeling of guilt. Anna continued to lead her usual life, but every time she looked at Igor, who seemed to sincerely believe in her care and devotion, it became even more unbearable. Chapter 5, On the Edge. Friends began to notice changes in Anna. She put on a new outfit, began to take care of herself, and her eyes shone with some kind of genuine joy. When asked what happened, Anna only smiled in response, deciding to keep her secrets. Igor also began to notice that something had changed. He planned to spend the weekend together, thinking about how to return the former passion to their relationship. He often went on business trips, and in his absence, Anna sank deeper and deeper into Maxim's world. Chapter 6, Reconsidered Choice. One day, when Igor returned from a business trip, he saw Anna sitting in the bathtub, with spontaneous letters and photos of their homeland scattered around her, filling her mind with ideas about a life with Maxim. As if swallowing a pilot pill of her debt, when he approached her, all he could do was simply hug her to try to bring her back to reality. The night was still an element, filled with deceptions on both sides. The next day, Igor suggested spending the evening together. Anna was terrified at the thought of having to deceive her husband and spend time with Maxim, who was waiting for her meeting. She took a risk, not knowing what the end would be. Chapter 7, Revelation. Igor invited friends, and the party most likely played its part in the relief, since these people brought Anna back to her life. She was left with goosebumps on her arms from the unexpected presence of Maxim at the party. In one moment, when their eyes met, everything dissipated. Igor noticed the tension. He watched them, and these were words on the edge of the cliff. His eyes deeply reflected the restless soul, and he stated the facts. Anna carried dark secrets within herself. Igor could not remain silent, and at that moment revealed her secret to everyone. The conversation about love and trust, about how important it is to protect the ties of the heart, became the main motive of this evening. With each new hour, each of them experienced their dull feelings, and soon the search for sensitivity turned into madness. Chapter 8. Picking up captives. After that drunken night, Anna and Igor returned to Discord, in his terrible confrontation. Both people had a lot of expected feelings and humiliation. They went to different corners of the apartment and perceived reality as a glass patronage that became unbearable for them. Anna had never experienced such guilt that she felt when all the year turned into scraped friends. As she went into the void, she realized that their relationship needed to be resolved. She realized that feelings for Maxim were only a pale copy of what she had. Chapter 9. The road to recovery. After several weeks on the aggravated ground of the relationship, Anna decided to turn to a psychologist. She understood that she could not cope with these internal demons on her own. In the session, she began to ask questions that tormented her, and together with the therapist, she began the process of forgiveness. Igor was also going through difficult times. He found himself empty, unhappy, and losing hope. However, he knew that Anya was still his beloved wife and that he wanted to restore their marriage. Open conversations and vulnerability allowed them to begin their journey to recovery. Little by little, they began to renew their marriage, focusing on love and understanding. Chapter 10. New light. Over time, they gradually began to rebuild their relationship. They began to spend more time together, go for walks, share dreams, and make each other happy. Anna and Igor no longer hid their emotions and became truly open to each other. Soon their relationship began to become vibrant and rich. Anna realized that true love requires effort. They became life partners and parents who tried to support each other in any circumstances. Epilogue. Full recovery. A year after all the trials, Anna and Igor decided to expand their family and spend time on a family vacation. This experience became a good lesson for them. They learned to appreciate each other more, to trust and to open up. Everything that happened was not just an accident, but an important stage in their life together. Thus, they took responsibility for their feelings. And despite the dark past, their love only grew stronger, turning into a bright emotional connection that supported them in any life situation. Story 2. Haunting Shadows. Chapter 1. On the edge of experiences. Zoya and Alexander were an ideal couple at first glance. Married for more than 10 years, they went through successes and hardships together. They had a house, 2 children, and a joint business. But one day Zoya stopped and thought, "Where am I?" She could not shake the feeling that she was lost in the flow of family worries and obligations. Alexander was a caring husband and a great father, but with each passing year he became more and more immersed in work. Family evenings were not fulfilling their purpose because they had become routine. Zoya was desperate, and there were shadows in her life that she tried to get rid of, but it was hopeless. Alexander was a caring husband and a great father, but every year he became more and more immersed in work. Family evenings were not fulfilling their purpose because they had become routine. Zoya was desperate, and there were shadows in her life that she tried to get rid of, but it was hopeless. At that moment, magic happened between them. Zoya realized that she had fallen into the trap of her feelings and that this was really wrong. She decided to take a time out and sort everything out to decide how to proceed. Chapter 5. Fear and Reality. Zoya returned home full of conflicting feelings. She could not look at Alexander without feeling guilty, and discussing her inner experiences with him seemed impossible. All her thoughts about Victor spoiled her inner world, and this state oppressed her. Just at that moment, Alexander suggested spending a romantic evening together, fully concentrating on their relationship. Zoya knew that she had to be honest with herself and eventually decide what she really wanted. Chapter 6. Mistakes and Redemption. As evening came, Zoya realized that guilt was falling upon her. She could not hide her feelings and told Alexander about her experiences. Every word and every breath she took indicated that she was trying to save herself from the devastating consequences. Alexander stopped in amazement, perplexed that someone else had appeared in their lives. He was devastated and upset, but deep down he knew that they had to go through these difficult trials together. Chapter 7. At the crossroads, Zoya and Alexander began visiting a family psychologist to more easily cope with emotions and conflicts, to organically create space for further life. For both of them, this was the collapse of the old structure in order to build something new. And despite the difficulties, they tried to establish communication with each other and share feelings. Eventually, the friction between Zoya and Alexander began to diminish, and each of them realized that their feelings were going through active changes. To be honest, reality still hung between them. The question was about the relationship with Victor and the dark and light of their inner worlds. Chapter 8. Sky on the clear horizon. After several months of working on themselves together, Zoya saw how their relationship became more open. They began to talk more about what worried them, and sincerely discuss any discontents and problems. Both realized that the secret feeling of falling in love with someone else was just a way to awaken something they had lost. Alexander still felt resentment, but at the same time he knew that building a new life requires effort from both of them. Their strong emotional connections and accumulated experience made them stronger, and soon love began to fill their hearts again. Epilogue. A new horizon. Zoya and Alexander decided at all costs to regain confidence in their relationship. They began to travel, attend relationship and creativity courses, and often spent time together, testing their connection. One weekend they went out into nature and, admiring the sunset, realized that friendship and love were beginning to emerge between them again. A year later, after all the difficulties, they became not only spouses, but also best friends. The experience with Victor became an important lesson for both of them. They realized that true love requires constant attention, care and children, and they were ready for a joint path full of joy and understanding. Story 3. On the other side of separation. Chapter 1. Stillness. On the outskirts of a small town lived Grigory and Tanya. They had been married for more than 5 years, and they had a small business, a flower shop. Grigory valued his family, trying to provide everything necessary for his wife and little daughter. However, lately Tanya began to feel like her life was completely mired in routine. Grigory spent a lot of time working, and he often did not have the energy to take care of his family. Every time they got together, the conversations were limited to everyday issues and chores. Tanya began to get tired of the monotony. She realized that in the deep corner of her heart there were feelings of dissatisfaction with herself and her life. And her inner voice began to call her to action, to change something. Chapter 2. New Frontiers. One day at a party with friends, Tanya met Sergei, a new acquaintance who was sociable, witty and energetic. Their conversations filled her heart with the emotions that she lacked so much. She felt that she could freely communicate with him, and this gave her a feeling of joy. Sergei showed interest in her, asking questions about her life, dreams, and hobbies. Tanya, as if for the first time in a long time, felt desired and recognized. They began to communicate more and more often, and soon it began to fill her day. Chapter 3. The madness of feelings. After spending the night together, Tanya realized that her friendship with Sergei was becoming more intimate. They spent a lot of time together and did almost everything that brought them pleasure, but with each new meeting, her feelings of danger and fear grew. Tanya realized that her feelings for Sergei went beyond friendship, and this frightened her. She was increasingly eluding her own experiences, but at the same time she knew that something in her life needed to change. Chapter 4. Deepening the secret. Tanya felt a gap in her thoughts. She constantly avoided communicating with Grigory, realizing that even such simple things as joint dinners and walks with their daughter had become a heavy burden. It seemed that she could not think about anything else. Sergei had no shortage of things on her way. He continued to find out when they could meet again. This creates even more confidence in her choice, and each time her life became more interconnected and confusing. Chapter 5. Distortions. One day, when Grigory and Tanya's evening gave way to another quarrel, she felt an incredible burden on her heart. Casual tenderness passed on to her as a stream of despair, and it became clear to her that fate was clearly not on her side. In the middle of the argument, Grigory, exhausted, became noticeable. He approached her, losing patience, but his every thought, every gesture spoke of how much he loved her. This single moment filled Tanya with such emotions that she vaguely remembered. After all, they were happy when they started a family. Chapter 6, Threat. One evening, when Tanya met Sergei again, she felt that he had become a danger to her. He increasingly showed a lack of desire for a serious relationship. She understood that she herself was threatening her happiness and bringing danger. After another meeting with Sergei, her mood again and again began to seem double. Guilt immediately came, and she did not want to hurt Grigory anymore. So one evening, when she finally decided to talk to him about it, her patience was trembling. Chapter 7, Meeting the Truth. They sat down at the table, both their eyes were shining when they began to talk about what they really felt. Grigory talked about how he had dreams and how he was looking for an opportunity to change his life. But he did not know that it was in solitude that he lost confidence. Tanya did not know how to start. She invited Grigory to her little corner, hoping for a positive outcome of the discussion. But as soon as she said the words about Sergei, Grigory immediately froze, and his eyes filled with resentment. This was the moment when all love was closed. Chapter 8, Apology. After this conversation, Tanya tried to find ways to atone for her guilt. Although she felt relieved to take this step, her heart was breaking with pain. Grigory was greatly shocked and began to doubt everything. By the time Tanya sold through the memories of Sergei, she had decided to close this chapter. She had come to the conclusion that true love sometimes requires being prepared for sacrifice and dissatisfaction. Chapter 9, Together. Soon after that, Grigory and Tanya turned to a psychologist to reconnect and sort out their feelings. They found that their breakup had brought understanding and a lesson in how to regain love and trust. After several sessions, both began to be more open in communication, discussing their experiences and emotions. They realized that everything could be restored, and their marriage was an opportunity to find a new path for the other. After months of effort, they turned a new page in their life together. At first it was difficult, but gradually they adapted and found a common perception of their love. Epilogue. A new path. A year later, they were happy again. The family business was developing steadily, and they began to devote time to each other again. Tanya realized that working in a team, all difficulties become insignificant. They had a second happiness, another child, and it became a real wealth for them. They realized that true love can be difficult, but in the end, together, before a new life sentiment, they found years of happiness ahead. Thus, all three stories show different sides of emotional betrayal, from the first temptations and emotional losses to the discovery of true love and understanding. They taught us important life lessons about trust, openness, and working together on relationships.